evening and welcome to Kiki's Chat Show. Today is the 2nd of November, the year 2022. Many things keep happening around us. I live in the UK and strange things are happening in our politics, in our finances, in our lives, our bills, even friendships are challenged. Everything is challenged. However, we press on. Today, if you are a proud African, if you are a proud Ghanaian, if you are proud of being Black, today we are all going to have a chat with Mr. Youngman, who's my guest. He's going to tell us about the mysteries of the Golden Stool. I am not going to speak too much about Mr. Youngman because we're going to ask him about himself. He's going to tell us everything about himself. And then he's going to tell us things we want to know about our Golden Stool. I mean, just for, as a disclaimer, I want you guys to know I do have Ashanti blood in me, and I'm very proud of it. However, I am still a Krobot chick. Good evening, Mr. Youngman.
Good evening, Candy. Good evening, Kiki.
Yeah, I noticed you were just looking up. Why were you just staring into the air? You were just looking at me.
Yes, I was just getting a little excited by your intro. I watched a couple of your interviews, and I think I like what you're doing.
Oh, you do? Thank you very much. Now let's start quickly so that we can manage to jump pack everything into our discussion. First of all, I want you to tell us about yourself. Who are you, Mr. Youngman?
My name is ERNEST YOUNGMANN. As of today, I'm the author of Mysteries of the Golden Stool. Now, on online, I'm known as Kofi Young, and a lot of people know me by Kofi Young online. Go to my Facebook, LinkedIn, on WhatsApp chat, and all other Facebook online communication networks. I'm on it as Kofi Young or NS Youngman or NSIAH Youngman. Now, I was born from somewhere in the middle of Ghana. In fact, Bichim, which is about 50 or 40 miles from Kumasi.
Okay, so
the capital
it's
of the Asante.
Yeah, it's in the Asante enclave. Yeah.
Enclave, yes. And it's also part of the kingdom, Asante Kingdom. Okay. And my mother told me that personally in a conversation, she told me about her history, why she came to Bichim. That was that her ancestors, somebody brought her to Kumasi and she was carried to Bichim as part of the deity that the Ashanti use as a spiritual power to lead them in wars. Wow. And the one who was the deity, the fetish priest who was handling the deity was the one who established Bichim and married my mother, our ancestor, out of which became offspring. So currently, the chief of Bichim is my ancestral father. So I'm a royal, just like you. And then my mother married a school teacher, a catechist. Okay. He had 10 children, and I'm the last one of them. Wow. And after my primary and secondary education, I wanted to become an actor. Because the first movie I saw in my life was that I knew fascinated me was Tarzan. And Tarzan, Yes. And I was so fascinated about the way he was jumping from tree to tree and fighting with lions. So I thought they were ancestral beings or some spiritual beings hiding behind scenes that record events or what do you call adventures of people when they are in the forest. So each time I go
Okay.
to the forest, I wish I ran into some adventure so that some of these spiritual or unseen beings can record me and come and show to the world. So that was where I got my feel for movies. So later on, when I
Okay.
grew up and I realized that movies were made, I jumped straight into it. So when I finished secondary school around
Mm-hmm.
1975, I came to Accra to join my brother, who was then the leader of the Avengers Band. It's a very
Okay.
popular dance band around that time, and we were playing a lot of pop music. So my brother assisted me a little bit, but I was recommended to go to the art center where they do acting because I couldn't qualify to go to the university. I started acting from there. And around 1983, I was lucky to be selected by a filmmaking organization to do the film called Kukurantumi Road to Accra. That was my
Okay.
first professional movie, although I had done tidbits here and there with Nafti and so on. 2 years later, the same group came again, selected me for another movie called Nana Kutu. 2 years after, they came back for another movie called African Timber. And that was what was setting the pace for me into the film world. Along that side too, I was also joining a drama group called Ghana Theatre Club, and later on move on to Talent Theatre Company. So I was doing both stage and screen acting. I wanted to go to film school. Unfortunately, I didn't have the academic qualification to enter any school in Ghana or else anywhere. So I had to train myself. And both on stage, backstage, handling of equipment. And my brother, Danan Kevin Katia, who was the leader of Avengers, usually traveled to the UK and come back. And one day when he returned, he came with a video camera around 1983 or so. So we said, video camera. And what he told me was that, young man, you said you want to be a filmmaker. Here you are. He just dumped the thing on my hands. And from there, I started my career as a filmmaker. I was doing funerals, weddings, social events, corporate videos. So around 1983 that I started working on movies, it gave me quite a great experience in how to write stories.
Okay.
So I decided to go into story writing myself.
Mm-hmm.
Around 1991, I assisted a friend of mine who had a story they called
Mm-hmm.
Shoe Shine Boy. He had written it like a play.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, look, I have seen movie scripts, the way they write it. If you want us to do a movie, let's do it right. So we sat down and rewrote the production into a movie. And I shot it. Then I got another production police officer. We did the same thing and I shot that one as well. So after those two movies, I also got the opportunity to play a role in Kwanzaa's movie, Heritage Africa. That one was a very, very big school for me because I had the opportunity to carry my camera to follow Kwanzaa and his movie from the day he started the production, from the script development, meeting of cast and crew, interviews and all that. So it more or less birthed me into filmmaking without entering the classroom. I trained myself in the streets of Accra. I'm a self-trained person in everything that I have done. All I need is just give me a lead into what you want me to do. After a few tries here and there, I'm good. The book Mystery of the Golden Stool was a product of my love for filmmaking, that I wanted to make a film that I would say most people wouldn't want to worry themselves about. I wanted a good story. I wanted a good story, a story where you can put anywhere in the world and it will match with any other production anywhere else. Kwanzaa did Heritage Africa. Yes, it has its own line. But I wanted something that has tradition, heritage, something that the international market will accept, that has value, and then story that has equal quality like any other story made by anybody in Hollywood. So one day I went to a production with a friend of mine, and while we were there, we were discussing the kind of movies that was being produced around that time. You know, I was one of the first people to start video productions in Ghana. And those who joined me later who wanted to make productions took a particular interest in a particular style, which is ghosts, terrible mother-in-laws, and that kind of stories.
Snakes.
Those didn't fascinate me. Yeah, it didn't fascinate me at all. That's what I said. We should challenge ourselves much more than we're doing. So after my two movies, Police Officer and Shushan Boy, I decided that I want to do something that is more challenging and more substantial than just those two that I have done. So when the idea of Mystries of the Golden Stool started, I wasn't surprised. It was in Obuasi, and immediately what came to mind was gold. Gold is an object or something that will attract anybody anywhere. And if you talk about tradition, heritage, and culture, the Asante Kingdom also is the biggest name in tradition in Ghana that would easily attract anybody. So if you put the next thing is Golden Stool. And what is about the Golden Stool? The mysteries that people think it was stolen, the power that it has already given to the Asante Kingdom, building around it, makes it more attractive to me than anything else. So I decided that, look, I want to write something about it. I told my friend, Kweku, who was a professionally trained person, and a scriptwriter and a director, that Kweku, you are the one who write stories. Me, I don't write. If you write, I will shoot. So, and asked me, what is your story? So I gave him a bit of a scenario of what I think the story should be. And I said, oh, let's call it Mystries of the Golden Stool. And the title of the book and the story started from the very day I started the story. So after we came back from our trip, 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, I called my friend, have you written anything for me? So, but you are the one who has a story in your head. How can I write something that is in your head? And the most terrible thing I've ever done in my life was writing a script. I have such a terrible handwriting. Sometimes after I have written a page, I'll go back to it and start making correction that before I finish, the whole page is messed up. And it didn't encourage me at all to continue writing. So I abandoned the writing. I told Kweku, I can't write. You guys help me. For more than 6 weeks, Kweku was not minding me. So I said, okay, I'll write. Then I started putting ideas that I thought should be the title or the information I need for the story down. Then one day, I got a call by President Kufuor that they were running their campaign and he wanted me to help him in the 1996 presidential election. So I left the starting of the script there and followed him. So when we came back from the election after he lost, I decided to go back to my business as a private video producer again. Now, I was also lucky to have done some good job and I came to a little money around 1997. So I bought myself the first computer ever. That was the beginning of the writing of the production and the book, Mystries of the Golden Stool. In fact, I started it as a story for a movie, not a novel. The movie story started and I wrote everything until I got to around 1998 again. President Kufuor came back for me again and I left it. So it was not until after our 8 years in government from 2001 to 2009, before I came back to it again. Almost, I left it about 10 years before I came back to the story again. And I started from there, put the manuscript for the movie together and completed it. And suffice it to say that my time with President Kufuor was very, very useful to me, because he's also a royal and from the Asante royal family. His access to Mansia also gave me a good access for me to enter there, look at a lot of the things that was happening there, to, as it were, guide me in writing some of the stories I've written. In fact, the storyline is very simple and straightforward, part of which are my personal experiences I've come to with the Golden Stool and then the Kingdom of Asante from around 1999 to about 2013 when I finished the script. In fact, by 2016, 2017, when I had converted it from the film manuscript to the novel, I had to go back to Mansia again for verification, where I sought certain clarity on certain parts of the story I have put on to make sure that it conforms with what the tradition will permit, and also it does not come into conflict with anything that is done in Mansia. And it was, in fact, the manuscript, after I finished the manuscript by 2013, I realized that the cost of production that I wanted for the Mystries of the Golden Stool was not something that I could easily handle by raising the money, even in Ghana. And I realized if I couldn't get anybody to fund it or any financing to make the production, it means that all the work I have put into that thing was going to be waste. But then it came to me that I had seen production like Lord of the Rings. Is it Lord of the Ring or Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings. And I saw some of the backstage work that they did. And some of the scenes that I wanted was somehow part of what I was seeing. And then I realized that the production was done from already written books by J.L.L. Tolkien. So I said, so if we can make a movie from a book, then I can make a book from a movie. So if I cannot get the movie done, why don't I turn it into a novel? Perhaps if I brought Kiki a novel, she might find time to read than a manuscript for a movie. And it took me 2 years to rewrite it from the film manuscript, screenplay, as they may call it, to convert it back into a full novel as you see today. And every single letter, and I say it again, every single letter typed on any sheet at all to be produced in this book was typed by me.
Well done. Well done.
The only thing that was done for me is perhaps the one who took some of the photograph at the back, and a couple of pictures I took from Mansia. Some of the pictures in the book are my own pictures, and then the design of the cover by my very good friend Mike Amonkwafo, who was formerly the director of television, Ghana Television at the time. So everything here is my handiwork. Has it been able to clear some of the things that you want me to say about myself?
No. You've told us a good history of yourself, a profile basically of yourself, and you've also told us what led you to write this book. Now, people, here is the book, Mysteries of the Golden Stool, and there's a golden stool right there.
Yes. Yeah. Sir.
Now, I need to ask you, I can tell them a few things. Listeners, when you pick this book up, you will not be able to put it down. There is everything in it. Suspense, murder, friendship, loyalty, history, true, clear history, ghost, spiritualism, love, romance. People, there is even sex in it. Prepare. The
you,
is
you,
loaded.
you've done a good run through. Wow.
The book
In the short
is
time.
loaded. Well, I got that. I told you that if you give it to me, I will read it. And I have read it. And now my children want to read. So, you know, because I keep, when I get to a part, I'll say, hey, so there's a, and then they'll be like, oh my God, mommy, when are you going to finish? I say, I'm working at the moment. When I finish, I'll give it to you. So everybody is interested. The book is good. It's a good education. Now, one of the reasons why I have this show, and I'll tell you, is because this show is for the African diaspora, but everybody else can listen. I do not mind. Now, the reason why it is very important to have you on the show to talk about this book, this wonderful book, See Me, See Book, is because it talks about Ashanti history. Ashanti history, we need to tell. There's a proverb which says, we need to tell our own story. We need to tell our own story. Now,
our own way.
Our own way. We tell our own truth. Now, these people came. They came to Ashanti Kingdom. They burnt down our castle. They thought we were savages. We weren't. They burnt down our castles. They stole our gold. They killed our people. But they came and said that we were the savages. They were shocked when they came and saw that people lived in decent tree-lined homes. They could not believe their Asantehines palace. They burnt it down. You need to read this book to know the truth, people. And that's what Mr. NSIAH YOUNGMANN is on the show today. I have questions for you. And one of my questions is, so for you, I've told you why you are here. But for you, what do you want the book to achieve for Black people, especially for children? What do you want the book to achieve?
In 2019, after I had launched the book in 2018 in Ghana, I felt that the story of Africa in the diaspora. And therefore, I should find a way of reaching them with the story. So I looked around and I heard about Black History Month. Black History Month, one in the UK and one in the US. So around June, in fact, it was after the Black History Month in the US, I realized I had lost that time. So I looked towards the Black History Month in the UK. So 2019, I started making arrangements to launch the international edition of my book. I sought and got a publisher or a printing house, author house, to assist me to put the production together. In fact, it's almost a replica of what I published in Ghana. So after the publishing, I came to the UK, and by the support of the Ghana High Commission, who in fact hosted me and assisted me to launch the book at the Ghana High Commission premises, the Belgrade Square. And more often, you won't get private individuals having their functions done there. But because of what the book represent. They granted me the permission to use the place to launch the book, and it became successful. Then during the launch, Dr. Dorian Wilson, who is a professor at Middlesex University, came to the lunch with Wendy, who is known by some of us back home as NSIAH Prempe. And she's lived in the UK for a long time. And she's also a royal from the Manchia Palace,
yes,
a grandchild of the Golden Stool. She brought Professor Wilson, and when they saw, when Professor Wilson saw the story and the book, he said she must do something about it. But then they had planned that I was going to come the following year to the school to speak about it. Then COVID came. So everything was put aside until this year when it was revived. And then I was called again to come. So I came to the UK sometime about 2 weeks ago to Middlesex University. And on the 20th of October, the book was properly introduced to the school in a program they call EduBate. Had a discussion, we have a debate on the book, and then in fact the school have accepted that the book should be put on the student reader list on a program called diversity. I'm sure it's on cultural or traditional diversity. As well as in Ghana, I have also presented it to the Ministry of Education, which has also accepted the book as a secondary school, senior secondary school reader. So beyond just a story for a movie, the quality of work on it and the information that it gives makes it a good educational material for secondary schools and also now in a university. And I think everybody should be encouraged by this to get a copy. Particularly, the target was for the brothers and sisters who are living in the diaspora. And it didn't come by chance that in 2019, when Ghana started the year of return, it coincided with this. And when I came, it was well received. But because of COVID, we couldn't get a follow-up to make it. And I'm sure that anybody, particularly our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, Ghanaians or those of us Africans, second or third generation Africans who have not had the opportunity to know our history by ourselves, this is a good chance for you to read the book. Pieces of the Golden Stool. Yes, there it is. And then it covers a lot of the things that the Kingdom of Asante celebrates about the Golden Stool.
Yes.
Its relevance in contemporary times, even today. Why do we celebrate it? Why do we celebrate the Golden Stool, which is supposed to be history? But then it fits in today. It's one that has put the whole kingdom together. Ashanti used to have the kingdoms stretched across from the Ivory Coast all the way to Benin, sharing border with Nigeria, until the colonialists came and pushed them back to where they are today. As you rightly said, it was because of the Golden Stool the British had to fight almost about 100 years of war with the Asantes, because they feared the Golden Stool was the power that kept the Asante kingdom together. They knew it, and they wanted to find a way of ridding them of it. They fought them in collaboration with local tribes who found Ashanti also an irritation that they could not contain, supported the British and fought them until around 1897, when the last war with the Ashantis was fought. Although the British had won the war, Ashanti was not defeated. They stopped the war because the king realized that by fighting, he was losing so much of human resource to build his nation. And he realized that if he doesn't do something, his kingdom was going to collapse. And he offered himself more or less a sacrifice, that if you take me away and it will bring peace, take me away. And that's why the king was taken out of the kingdom, sent into exile for close to 24 years. And
in Seychelles.
Yes, in Seychelles.
Yes.
And then when they realized that they still could not have collapsed the Ashanti kingdom, they brought him back. And he came back and lived and ruled his people, rebuilt the Asante kingdom back until what it is today, the modern Ashanti kingdom that we have today. There have been 16 kings that have sat on the Golden Stool from the middle of the 17th century up to today. And the current 16th king is the Otumfuo Osei Tutu II. And he has always been around with the British monarch and has very good relationship with them even today. I remember one time when the current king came to Ghana before he became the king. He has been there a couple of times before, and the king hosted him. And that is the kind of relationship the United Kingdom and the Ashanti Kingdom has. And I think we must keep this going. And the book coming here is, as it were, helping to reinforce the relationship that is between, if you say, Ghana and the United Kingdom. And if you are a Ghanaian, you should be proud of yourself and own a copy of this book so that you'll be able to tell the true history that Ghana has for mankind.
This book is a true history told by a Ghanaian, an Ashanti. It is the version that is true. The British fought us. In fact, one of the fiercest battles was the Sagrenti War, which was fought on the British side, was led by Sir Garnet Wolseley. And they had muskets, guns, bombs, swords, long swords. At the time, I don't think we had long swords. We had swords, but not the long one that, on guard. And they would just choke you and cut off your head. Yes. And they plundered, pillaged, murdered people in their own. It's not like Ashantis had gone to fight these people. These people, and you know what is interesting about the Sagrenti War, and I'll tell you the reason why it's called the Sagrenti War, is because they came from the coast. They traveled miles deep into the Ashanti Kingdom. The Ashanti Kingdom is not by the sea. It is nowhere. It is deep inside of Ghana. And they came to come and kill, maim, everything because they wanted our gold and because they wanted the Golden Stool. It is one of the terrible things in our history that nobody talks about. And when they talk about it, they tell it in their way. But how you can have a war with people who are minding their own business in their own kingdom is amazing. So here it is. Africans, even if you are not from Ghana, but you are an African, buy this book. This book tells a lot of things. Now, interestingly, this book is written in modern times. So the ghosts, the powers, the spirits, and everything came into the book for a reason. I can't tell you this reason. because you need to buy the book, but they came. And this book, there was even a bit like Tomb Raider in the book. There were gold thieves. There were thieves in the book. This book, you have to read it. It is like a proverb in Ashanti which says, "So she." Try it and see. You will be shocked. Now, people, we have more questions to ask. If you have a question, ask it in the comment section. I'll ask him. But meanwhile, whilst you are thinking about your question, I will ask. So, what do you think is the biggest issue for Black? Because you talked about, you and I had a chat about Black History Month, which was in October, just gone. I don't think it should be Black History Month. I think it should be Black History Year. That way I just thundering along talking, because that topic should not end in our mouths, especially if you live in the diaspora. But my question to you is, what is the biggest issue Black people face around the world today, in your view? In your view?
They are not trying hard enough to get back to their roots and their history. If you look at the population of Black people who want to come back to their roots, as compared to those who don't want to hear it, it will amaze you that only a few want to come back home. Even those who migrated from here into the diaspora are deciding to even become more foreigners to themselves, keep their children and their generations away from their roots. Only a few will bring them back to learn. So until the Black people, the Africans, decide to take their own traditions seriously and come back to it, we still have this problem here. As you're saying, we must tell our stories our own way. We must change the paradigm. We must tell our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren our history, that we are people with history, with tradition, with a heritage that we should be proud of, and come to it and make efforts to make sure that they keep their roots back to where their ancestors come from. There are some of you here who are doing a lot to keep their family together. Like, as you're saying, you read and your children will want to read. It's because of the way you have also tried to inculcate into them the desire to know their roots back. It should be something that should be sustained from all the communities across the diaspora, whether it's in the United States, United Kingdom, anywhere else, that we are a people from a home, a true home, with a tradition and heritage that we must fight to get back to. This is where the civilization started. This is where, and I say that Africans, or yeah, for that matter, knew God. We worship God. That's why we have survived up to now. And this is what I try to put in this book, some of the practices that we do currently, not rituals, but I try to find a very, very fine way of putting our heritage in a story that young people of today can easily relate to. In fact, I started my story before Wakanda.
Yeah, 1 minute. Why did you say not rituals? What do you mean by not rituals? What does that mean?
If you go to any Christian church, they have a liturgy and a doctrine they go through. Mm-hmm. They don't call that one ritual. But for an African to raise a calabash and make a libation, they call it a ritual. African religion does not necessarily make it fetish. It is someone who does not understand it that calls it fetish. But a true African Ghanaian religious person is not a fetish. Our tradition, our medicines, our food, people look down on it. But then that is what makes as what we are. So until we try to differentiate ourselves from what foreign religion or foreign education that has been brought to us that is making ours look fetish and negative, if we don't disabuse ourselves from that kind of understanding, we'll always look at our traditional practices as fetish. There are people who don't worship any idol in their home, but they are Africans. They live like everybody. They go about their lives every time. When there is a festival, they all come in and join the people, and they go and pay obeisance to the king or homage to the king. They have their family values that they build in their children, training them to become good people in life. If you are an African, you know very well that something that does not belong to you, you must not take it. It should not be Christianity that should tell you that shall not steal. It was there. Our people knew it. Previously, you go somebody's farm, is there. For several months, the full crop is overgrown and it is getting rotten. Plantain is getting rotten on the tree. Nobody would touch it because we know that you don't steal when it doesn't belong to you. So how can you now say that until Christianity came before we know that thou shalt not steal is there? So our people knew God from the beginning, but other people who don't understand what they're practicing look at them and call it fetish. You come to somebody's country, you fight him to come and take his gold. He doesn't allow you. You catch him and then you hang him and call him a savage person. The one who hang, the one who sit on his gold that you are coming to steal, who is a savage person? So that is a difference. Until we are able to tell our children, our generations, the difference between the negative doctrine that has been pushed on us up to today, until we are able to tell them the truth, we always have this quiet mind and always think that Africans are always backward. No, we are not.
No,
we sit on the wealth of the whole world. It's only the one who wants to come and take it that makes it look as if we don't know what we want to do with our gold or minerals that we sit on.
They will steal it. They'll tell us not to have it. They'll steal it and then. But anyway, coming back to identity, that is it. One of the reasons why I am excited about your book, and here it is again, people. I am showing you the book, just in case you just joined. Here is the book. It's called The Mystries of the Golden Stool, and it's by NSIAH, YOUNGMANN. YOUNGMANN is spelled with 2 N's at the end. Now, identity. Someone is asking, are we as Black people losing our identity? A listener is asking that. And I'm thinking that we were losing our identity, but people like Mr. YOUNGMANN is bringing us back. We are about to find ourselves. In fact, a lot of people have found themselves. There is this thing people keep saying, you know, Black people are now woke. They are waking up and all of that. I don't know about that, but I just think that whatever it is, we're waking up. You see, even the history of this country is that there was a time when those who were Christians used to force people, the poor people, the landed gentry, forced people. That's the history of this country and in a lot of other countries, Spain, Italy, and all of that, to become Christian. It was by force. And when they were fighting the Crusades against, you know, the Muslims, it was by force. And they used the same force in our country. And that is why, after a while, it became as if it was a shame to be anything else but a Christian. People, get back to your roots. Read this book. This book is going to give you an idea. It's going to give you pride. Look, there was a time when the richest man in the world was Mansa Musa, Black man. Black man from Africa, not Black man in Europe like Kwesi Kwarteng. No. Black man from Africa. He used to travel to the Western world and then go back to Africa. And you guys need to know these things. And if you know, there is a Jamaican saying which says, each one teach one. So when you know, you teach the other. If you know this book, buy one for somebody for Christmas, this book. Because people need to know their history. Jamaicans, Barbadians, Bajans, as they call themselves, some of them may have come from here. Some of them were prisoners of war in the Sangranti War, in those 100-year war that the Ashantis fought. When they took the people, they would put them in the castle and ship them away. They may have been Ashantis. Find your family. It's in this book. There's a lot in this book. This book, I can tell you, I read it. And this book is written just in the vein of Indiana Jones. It is written in the present. So a guy goes to New York. I can tell you the first part, chapter 1. A guy goes to New York. He is burgled by a jewelry thief. He takes his gold, pure Ashanti gold. From then on, it became an exciting adventure. Inside was romance. Inside was police. Look, I'm telling you, the book is amazing. Now, this book is in, where can people buy this book?
Currently, it is online on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and Author House. Yes. And then you can I don't know whether you can have my number on the online. I don't know. Otherwise, if you contact me directly, I can assist you to get a copy, even if you are in the UK, anywhere. But it's online on Amazon.
It's online.
And what I want to say,
yes, please.
What I want to say in addition is that, particularly for our younger people who are looking for something exciting to read, this is a book they must read. This story was started before Wakanda.
Yes.
If they had seen this story, perhaps they would have done Wakanda this way.
No.
It has elements like that.
No.
It has elements like that.
No. We had this chat, and let me tell you why I say no.
Why?
Look, there are different stories. There are different things. It's not only Indiana Jones films that we watch. We watch different things. If you go on Netflix, there are so many different. We need to bring out 1,000 of this book. We need to bring out. We have the Ashanti Kingdom. Although I'm from the Ashanti Kingdom, I am from the Krobo Kingdom. We have our story. I haven't written it yet. I'm going to write it. There are people who are from the Ewe Kingdom, this kingdom, that kingdom. There are kingdoms in Africa. Africa, we used to live in harmony. We hunted the animals, and our children played with cubs, lion cubs. We were invaded, raided. If you watch that slave, I've forgotten, but if you read it, you will see. They raided villages, they raided kingdoms, they bribed evil people. Now, Lion King, if you read the Lion King, the story is nearly there, because inside of the story, there were the jackals. There was Mafusa, there was the evil brother. There were all sorts of people who helped the evil man infiltrate. And that is our story. That is the truth.
That's it.
Read this book.
This is not the end. There are a lot more that I'm working on as a sequel to this and follow up, because after the book, I myself realized that there's so much more to write on this, and a few people have told me, Charlie, you haven't finished this story. There's more that you haven't put in this story, because you cannot put everything in one book. There's more that you need to write, and I'm working on a new story, more or less like a sequel to this. So let's get ready. But then you can only get the sequel when you have the first copy.
Well,
so get your copy now.
You need to read this book. Now, please don't think nobody's paying me. This is not sponsored. If we want our children to become different, we want our children to become proud, we want them to be comfortable in their skin. If that is what you want, well, the juggernaut has begun. Read this book.
You can go online to any of the online stores, or just type my name, NSIAH YOUNGMANN. It will link you to me anywhere I am, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and you can send me any message on Facebook or LinkedIn. If you are interested in anything and you ask me on those platforms, I'll be able to answer you. If you want a copy of the book and you cannot access it through the normal online stores, if you are in the UK, you are in Ghana, or anywhere in the world, you can reach me and I'll find a way of getting a copy to you.
A copy, you need to. And if you have sons, boys, it's the gentleman in the book, Kofi Insia, he's in the book.
Yes.
And you see, I mean, I've read the book very well. And Kofi Insia is, he's impressive, I must say. He's impressive. He's a thinking guy. He's an interesting guy. And I think, people, this is our heritage. This is our story. It's not just my story.
And to tell you one, immediately after the launch at Middlesex, the vice chancellor of the school asked what plans I have for the book. She didn't know I was planning. I had already done the manuscript for the book. So we asked, what does it mean? So we can look at the production of a movie of the book. She didn't know. So we are here as well. After a couple of days, I will go back there to see how we can explore the opportunities of fulfilling the original idea of producing this one into a movie. In fact,
I want to be the girl's mother. I want to be the girl's mother. She sounds so nice.
Mommy. You want to be mommy?
I want to be mommy. And visit.
I thought you were going to say you want to play Frema.
Oh no, that is that's for the young people. I just want to have a few walk-on roles just so that I'm in there.
We can make you up to let you look cute and fitting for the role.
People, we've come to the end of the show. Somebody said, hey, playing with lion cubs shows your services. So come and take our kids. No, the kids were playing with the lion cubs. Africa is a huge zoo, and all the animals, we didn't kill all of them, and we didn't kill them for fun. Europeans will come to Africa, kill an elephant or an animal that hasn't done anything. It's not for food, but just for fun. Take a photo and proudly show it to the world. What is that? We had animals around us. We never killed them in this way. So people, please, let the social services people deal with the Europeans here, the ones who go to Africa and kill our innocent animals. again, I have come back to say thank you very much for this interview. I have enjoyed it, and I hope the people who listened also enjoyed it. You have educated us on a lot of things, and you are going to educate us more if you read this book. I read it, I enjoyed it, and let me tell you guys something. I did say to him, though, that the first page or the second page, there was a murder. I put the book down. I thought, what kind of book is this? I can't read it. I couldn't. It took me 24 hours. I picked it up again, and suddenly I couldn't put it down. If I'm going anywhere, I'm with the book. I'm in the bathroom, the book is there. I mean, the book was with me. I was asleep. The book is lying there because I'll be reading it and fall asleep. Do you know, I haven't done that in years. I'm before the advent of Netflix and all of that. I didn't have time for all of that. I was reading books. But when Netflix came, I started watching Netflix because that was my, escape. This book it grabbed me into itself, and I read it to the last page. And I'm glad to have done so.
Thank you.
If you buy the book and you don't like it, please abuse
Come
me.
back for your money. I guarantee you that.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, listeners. I really enjoyed your company. This has been wonderful. We've gone over a few minutes, but that's fine. This has been an excellent, exhilarating, and illuminating discussion. The Mysteries of the Golden Stool. Buy it, read it, and give it to your children. Okay? Thank you. Bye bye.